So hello, my name is Rob and this is Cattle Rabbit Scale Model Studios, and in this video it is all about Desolators, the absolute marmite of the 41st millennium. You either really love the absurdity of these guys or you can't stand them. For me, I've never really been able to make up my mind whether I like these miniatures or not. Some days I like them, some days I don't. So I thought I would do an alternative to Desolators and also maybe Tactical Marines if you wanted to give them a Primaris treatment. For this method, I'm going to knock up these two guys. I'm going to show you how I did it, what bits I've used. It is really easy to do. You don't need a lot of skill. There are some optional bits that you can add on, but other than that, there really isn't any cutting away, any strange kitbashy techniques. So if maybe you've been a little bit worried about attempting this is a really great video for that. As always, I'll leave all information in the description box below, and if you like this video, do consider liking and subscribing as it really helps me out. So to begin with, we need a good base, and for that I always start with the body, and for this I'm going to be using just normal Intercessor bodies. Primaris Intercessor bodies. These are two that I found on a sprue that I hadn't unclipped. The thing I really like about these is it's effectively just the same stuff in a different pose. So that kind of lends to a strength and also a weakness. It's like they do look a bit samey, but also you know how these models go together and how you can get away with using them. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is this. Now, this is a tactical squad sprue. This is what I'll be drawing a lot of the bits from in this video. So if you do need to obtain these bits, it's the tactical squad for the normal first born Space Marines. Really easy to get hold of. You get some great bits like these rocket launchers, these cool backpacks. You also get these little arms that you can also push up against. A lot of people don't seem to realise that a lot of the firstborn stuff scales quite nicely, bar a few exceptions with Primaris stuff. So we can actually get away with using quite a lot of stuff off of this sprue to make our Desolators. Here I've also got this is the upgrade sprue for the infiltrators or inceptors, I believe, that came with Kill Team Morok. The reason why I like this sprue, it's got a lot of left hand bits, and we are kind of governed by what hand our rocket launcher is in, so we tend to have the left free to make some alternative poses. Obviously, one thing I'm keen to do in this video is not just everyone has the same pose, everyone needs to look ever so slightly different. So I'm going to show you how I've done that as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is unclip these, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about how I kind of came to do this video. A little while ago on Instagram I did an actual mock one of these, and everyone said, you know, what a great version of Desolators were, but I needed to refine it ever so slightly to make it a bit more doable, and I think with this video I've done that. Not only will you be able to make a multitude of poses, the bits that I'm using, especially tactical stuff, isn't that expensive even if you buy it direct from Games Workshop, but also you can get these bits quite readily available on eBay. Another good source of rocket launchers as well, obviously if you wanted to do like a Primaris Devastator squad, you could definitely do that. I also noticed in the Dark Angels veteran kit, company veterans, that I've been using a lot lately, this also has a rocket launcher in. So there is an overabundance of kits that these parts actually come in. So you can grab them from 2 or 3 different sources, and they're really easy to get hold of. And as always, the other thing to be aware of is this Kitbash is primarily aimed at being a Desolator Kitbash. I'm fully aware that not everyone's going to kind of be on board with having like the rocket launcher things, because one thing the Desolator squad does do is do a good variation of bits. So if you've got kind of 10 rocket launchers representing, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 different weapons, it can be a little bit iffy. So it might be a good idea that if you are doing Desolators to mix and match them so they kind of blend in a little bit more with, you know, some of your other units in the squad. Obviously, once again, you could use this to Primaris Tactical Marines, a Devastator squad. A lot of the methods would be exactly the same, just use the bits off of those sprues. And literally, you're just putting it on a Primaris body, and that's probably the simplest way I can make this method. So as you can see, I've got my bits unclipped and cleaned up. I've also attached my Intercessor bodies onto some bases. Here I've just got a rocket launcher with an arm attached. Obviously we've got the backpacks. I've got a lone rocket launcher. I've also got some of the left hand options cut out as well. There is a few things to kind of note here. I do like the firstborn helmets. with these, as they've got all like the cool built-in eye lenses. Once again, that's from the tactical kit. But there's one thing to note, and one thing that makes this work really, really well with Intercessor bodies, is you can see here in the shoulder, it's effectively hollow, which means we can actually attach the other arm and we can get some different kind of movement in the arms, which is really why these parts work so well. So we can kind of have it looking kind of like dead on. We could mount it upwards as if he's shooting upwards at something, or down as if maybe he's readying a target. I think I'm going to have mine probably like halfway between the two, do like a bit of an action pose. But this is the beauty of the Kitbash, and finding that one perfect part that just makes all the other parts fall into place. And that's all really Kitbashing is. Another thing to consider is the backpack. There's a little square attachment on the back of the Intercessor, but there's a round ball socket type attachment on the back of the backpack. This is a really easy fix. Once again, requires no skill. Just literally get your clippers, cut off the peg on the back of the Intercessor, and then just using something like a hobby knife, just make sure it's nice and flat. What I actually do is attach this just on the back here. I'm going to attach my arms now and the backpack, and I'll show you pretty much where we are already. So as you can see, already all I've done is blue tack the head on. I've got the arm positioned how I want to, and I've got the backpack, and what a difference that's made already. Really all I've done is one simple cut to get the backpack on, and that's it. Now the arm I've had to set ever so slightly forward because of how I want mine to be posed, but don't worry, as long as you've got a bit of a contact point, we can actually cover a lot of the awkward posing up with a shoulder pad. So all I did was put a dab of glue on the shoulder area, attached a pad, and there we go. Really, really easy to do. Now you could stop here and that works perfectly fine. You know, that's a good kind of proxy for, you know, 2 or 3 different units or 2 or 3 different squads. But if you wanted to take it a little bit further, on the top here we've got this lovely flat surface, which is great because it's so different to like usual Space Marine backpacks. But if you go back to something like the Infiltraitor or Incursor kit, and you've got these little kind of like tracking modules or lenses that would be on the back of Incursors, if you get one and just remove the base by clipping it, just like that, so it's just like a little peg, what we can actually do, just getting a file around the edges and get it to a bit of a point. All we're doing is trying to put the shape back into this. We're not filing or removing anything kind of away, but we want that little point just at the end. And what we can actually do is almost like reverse pinning, but we're actually going to use the plastic itself to pin itself. So all I do is I get a hobby knife, and all I'm going to do, I'm just going to start twisting it into the top to make a point. Now you can carry on with a hobby knife here. You might need to spend a bit of time to it. Just go slow. Don't put too many pressure, because if you accidentally slip, you're going to stab yourself. So do just be a bit careful with this. But once you've got a little point and you have one of these, a pin drill, all I'm going to do is pop it in the little guide hole we just made, and I'm going to wiggle the drill bit as I spin it. Once again, you can do this with a knife. Just be really, really careful. But I find using a pin drill makes things really, really easy. And all we're doing is we're just trying to make a little tiny hole, a little bit wider than what it usually would be. And as you can see, we can actually get the little pin there, and it fits perfectly into that little recess we've just made. So what we can actually do now is, using a little bit of super glue, or if you wanted to do extra thin cement, either would work really, really well here. Just put a little bit of super glue over the hole. You don't want too much on there, so if you need to wipe it away, just use your finger. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to have this turn the same way as the helmet, almost to make it look like this is tracking with the helmet and the lenses and all the bionics that are kind of working with the miniature. And that's really about it. Obviously you can add as much detail as you want because you've got that lovely flat surface up there. So some of the antennas from the Infiltrator kit would be a really, really good stand-in. I'm going to show you another one that I made up now, done in exactly the same way, but just goes to show you how you can get a few different poses without actually changing the bits. Now this is all the same bazooka arm that I used on this guy, but I just tweaked it ever so slightly, and this is what I came up with. So there's our first guy, and there's our second guy. So as you can see, I've kind of lowered his gun, I've got his head turned a bit more, he's pointing, maybe ordering a target or a strike on something. This is only blue tacked in, so the arm might not be ever so properly aligned, but there it is. I also put the little antenna array onto his backpack as well, which I thought was a cool little touch. And that's it. How to really easily convert, well, really anybody you can use, you don't have to use intercessors if you don't want to, into Desolator Marines. And that's it. That is literally all there is to it. Once again, if you did enjoy this video, please do consider liking and subscribing. It really helps me out. I'll see you in the next one. God bless and take care.